This was the worst loss of this era of Commanders football. The worst day yet of the Dan Quinn operation.
Without a doubt. This is bad. This was a really bad loss. You know my axiom in sports. People that have listened to the show before and have interacted with us over the years. First of all, I'm appreciative. Second of all, you know my deal. When Jacob deGrom is in Cy Young form and he goes 7 scoreless against your lineup, you tip your cap. That guy's great. He does it to everybody. When you lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, it sucks. It's not fun to lose to a good team that's winning their division. It's not fun to lose to Baltimore when they're firing on all cylinders. It's not fun to go to Philadelphia and lose a divisional game like that because you may not be as good as you thought they were. But you watch good teams play well, and you go, okay, maybe we're not quite there yet, but that's reasonable to me. The team they played yesterday sucks. They suck. That's a bad football team that did everything they could to show you their hind parts. They couldn't get snaps right. They can't wait to fumble. They can't wait to blow a coverage and let you back into a game. An overmatched dead man walking boob on the sideline. They've got infighting. Jerry Jones is getting made fun of 6 ways from Sunday about the sun coming into his dumb stadium. They stink, and they were better than you yesterday.
One of their coaches on that staff before the game, a couple hours before kickoff in the bowels of the stadium, saying basically it's worse than you think it is, that people are jumping in all directions. It's a lot of CYA. It's getting ugly in the building. They didn't expect to come to Washington and win this game. They thought they were coming here for their funeral. And then football happened. But you're right. It's not like the really bad team played really well. That happens sometimes in the NFL. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, the Titans, who are getting ready to come here next week, played a pretty good football game and beat the Houston Texans on the road. Every now and then in the division, the bad team can play well and beat you. The Cowboys did not play that well yesterday. They had 3 points at halftime. Washington just matched their level of bad. But this is why I think this was the worst day of the Quinn operation. To your point, Ravens, Eagles, Steelers, setbacks. No worries, guys. They're among the best in the NFL. This was the first time they played down, and they did it in a game where there's just no excuse. Are you at home? Check. Are you more rested than your opponent? Check. In fact, they're the most rested that they have been at any point since week 1 when they debuted this season in terms of days since they last played. Is Dallas, while you have a mini bye at home, coming off of a short week Monday Night Football game where they lost a few more guys to injury and traveling? Check. Does your staff know more about that team than their staff knows about your team? Because Dan Quinn and Joe Witt and so many others came here from Dallas. Check. Are they more injured than you, including at the most important position where they have a backup on the field? They had $100 million, Danny, in cap space on injured reserve. Check. And none of it mattered. Because Washington didn't play well, and the bad team, struggling, still found a way to beat the Commanders in Landover, Maryland.
Just gross. There's no way around this. People are going to remember the ending and how wild that was and the back and forth, and they had a chance to tie it or win or whatever, and that's fine.
It kind of is like a tale of two games, because I was thinking about this. The show I would have done if we just started it at 55 minutes is a lot different than the show you do after 60, because those final 5 minutes where, oh, by the way, 38 points were scored. I mean, that was an unfathomable, incredible last 5 minutes of football where that wild back and forth broke out. That really shouldn't deter us from the storylines.
This is where I was going.
Or keep us from an autopsy on the first 55, which were the authentic football.
Yeah,
games.
I lived and died with it just like you guys did. I had the wild swings of emotion, the ups and downs, the bad, everything in between. I was there too. 55 minutes of football versus the craziest 5 minutes ever. When crazy, random, highly unusual stuff happens, you go, wow, I appreciate that. I saw that. That was miraculous, bad, whatever the case is. That's fine. I got a 55-minute sample where they gained 200 yards. For 55 minutes against one of the worst defenses in this sport, with a bunch of quitters who are looking to quit, you managed 200 yards of offense and were anemic at best.
Yeah, the offense was awful.
That's the story to me. And anything else is fair, and let's talk about it, but that to me is the tale.
Well, and I'll tell you what it is, and it's not about the rib anymore, right? Because Jaden Daniels ran all over the place.
And looked athletic and quick and,
That was Tampa Bay week 1
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, right? He ran for 75 yards, his third highest rushing performance of the season. And 2 of those runs specifically, including one in the first half and then one in the second half, he had that twitch out of the pocket, the surfer through the wave thing where he slid up and past defenders and took off for 20 yards. He had a couple of big runs in this game. He looked like old Jaden Daniels. So it's not the rib. You can't play that game anymore. And you know what else it wasn't this week? It was not the opponent.
Nope.
I made a lot of excuses for this offense. Well, it was Pittsburgh. Don't worry, guys. The Eagles are shoving it on everybody. They shoved it on the Rams last night. They're the best defense in the league over the last 6 games. Nobody's been able to move the ball against them since the bye. You'll get right against the bad team and the bad defense. No, they won't. Danny, 3 points at half. They had 9 points with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock in the game against Dallas.
Yeah. Time of possession, they got dominated. Yardage, they got dominated. Every way you can be worse, they were.
Should have been a few more because the kicker missed an extra point and a field goal. So
yes,
it could have been 13. But the point's the point. 92 net passing yards with 5 minutes to play. 92. That would be bad if it was 1978. They had 2 running backs. Eckler, who, by the way, thinking about you, buddy.
Yeah, man.
And I hope our guy, who is our weekly 5 o'clock appointment every Tuesday, who suffered what looked like a very serious concussion and was out cold on the field at one point. I hope he's doing okay and recovering and feeling well today. We're thinking about him and his family. But Robinson and Eckler, their 2 top backs, combined for 14 carries for 35 yards against a defense that was allowing 150 rushing yards a game coming in. No excuses. You got.
Right. And so if they're going to go pot committed to try to stop that, it should be a field day. It should be 7-on-7 pitch and catch summer, in shorts and a t-shirt.
What they did. I think they loaded up the box.
Yeah, I think so too.
They said, we're stopping the run. And that's why Daniels had success to the edges. And it's frankly why you couldn't run the ball. And Daniels still couldn't beat them throwing the ball. They still had no downfield passing attack at all.
I mean, none.
They took 2 shots. One, McLaurin was open and Daniels threw it out of bounds over the sideline. And the other was the deep shot to Noah Brown where he was perfectly covered. And Brown made a nice play on what could have been an interception, basically, on a ball that was left inside. But they got the ball 4 times in the second half within a possession. I think it was like 5 or fewer point game. 4 times they got the ball, Danny, where if you go score, you take the lead, and they didn't. Think about the offensive setup in this game. They had drives that started at the Dallas 40, the Dallas 47, the Dallas 39, their own 45, and their own 42. So within 8 yards of midfield, when you've basically got to get to the 30 of the opponent to just get 3 points, if you kick a field goal on all 5 of those drives, you get 15 points. On those 5 drives, from the Dallas 40, 47, 39, from the Washington 42 and 45, they got 3 total points. That's a joke. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, the story to me is the offense. And so defensively, they had some let-ups late. They let a touchdown drive happen. So I understand that, and people are going to point to that. Again, the time of possession disparity was staggering at that point. 35-plus minutes for Dallas. And Washington barely cracked 20, and it wasn't until the end when they were moving the football down the field as things changed. 192 of their 412 yards, basically half of their yardage total, occurred in the last 5 minutes of action. The story to me is the offense. Beginning, middle, end. Defensively, that's more than you could ask anybody. And now there's a block kick in there. There's Dallas's own screw-ups and mess-ups. That's fine. That's in the NFL, the way the rules are set up and the way the sport is, having a defense do what this Washington defense did in this game when the offenses and defenses are lined up, that's as much as you can ask. This should have been a game where they won by 3 touchdowns because of how horrendous Dallas is and has played and how they're limping in here looking for the offseason.
Yeah.
And you made them look like a juggernaut while they were screwing up, by the way. I mean, this offense is solved as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
they're playing Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
All the letters are up there, and they go, like to solve? Cliff Kingsbury's offense? Yeah, that's it. Here's what you want. Go to the final thing where you get a couple letters and try to, with RSTLNE, solve it again. The word is out. They got it. Every defensive coordinator goes, I cannot wait to play Washington.
Yeah, we got pushback on that last week. I'm imagining there's going to be a little bit less of that this week. Because, again, the rib shouldn't be let's not hear that excuse anymore on the phones for why this offense is broken. Daniels ran all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome on the ground yesterday.
Yes, he was.
Passing game, still broken. Kingsbury has to find answers, period. Daniels is not seeing it like he was early in the year, and he's not playing with the same confidence. And it's not all him, by the way. It's not just his problem, but it is okay to acknowledge that he was playing at a level that he is not anymore. Part of that is, I talk about baseball in this way. They studied the tape. They know what pitches he struggles with. When he leaves the pocket to his right, he extends the throw. When he leaves the pocket to his left, he's running. You know, these little tells that we've heard broadcasters at different points along the season mention in the telecasts, Teams know those too, by the way. They probably pick up on them on some of their meetings with teams. And I think Daniels, like Kingsbury, has to make some adjustments and has to get back to playing at the elite level that he was at the beginning of the year. Still a great story that he's been way above expectation kind of for the duration of the campaign, and that you're over 500 in his first year as a rookie, and that you're probably going to make a wild card and you have a really good chance to make the playoffs, although we'll table those conversations for now. But you're basically now splitting the season in half, right? With that Panthers injury at the midway point. There's the first 6 games of what Jaden Daniels was. And then if you look at the 5 games since Carolina, or if you want to count it as the last 6, as he got hurt in that game, there's the 6 games since. And it's pretty black and white and cut and dry here in terms of runaway rookie of the year, MVP candidate, and kind of a Jag performance since then that they've got to iron out and figure out for the most part. But you mentioned, Kingsbury. Everyone's going to want to make it just Kingsbury or just Daniels, and that's not fair. The wide receivers are dropping a lot more passes.
Yes, they are.
They had 3 drops according to PFF in the first 8 weeks of the season. They have 10 over the last 4 weeks of the season now. 3 times as many. The offensive line protection seems to be regressing on the interior, where there's more pressure coming up the middle from the outside. They're not actually giving up more pressure per drop back the second half of what they've played so far than the first half, according to the numbers I've looked up. But the difference is maybe where the pressures are coming from and how Daniels has handled them. As an example, he was pressured on 35% of dropbacks in the first 6 weeks. Weeks 8 through 12, just 32%, little down. So he's just handling it worse. 19.7% of pressures turned into sacks on the season. The last 3 weeks, 10 sacks, 36 pressures. That's 27% of the time. He's also throwing the ball away a lot more. He's having more balls batted at the line. You look at batted balls and throwaways, 7 in the first 7 weeks, 16 in the last 5 games. It tells me there aren't as many easy answers for him. There's not the quick outlet pass, the hot throw, the quick game, ball out of his hand, let guys make plays. Like, where is that? Kingsbury's got to get back to giving him some easy answers here.
Without question. And to me, that's a schematic and design thing. And to me, the biggest thing that's going on with the offensive line is you're not ahead of the chains all of a sudden. Remember, early in the year, every first down was 5 or 6 yards. It didn't matter if it was a flip pass out to into the flat, if it was a first down targeted run, whatever. They're ahead.
They were never in 3rd and long.
So now it seems like they always are. Now it's perpetuity. I've seen that before in Scott Turner's offense, Eric Bieniemy's offense, etc.
JD5 mentioned that after the game, by the way, in his press conference. When I think I asked him something along the lines of like, what is the deal these last few weeks? And he basically said, we're in 3rd and long more, and we see exotic blitzes. And he also said teams have figured out things that we struggle with, and they're doing more of it. We're seeing more of that stuff, which is true. But yeah, yesterday, I think he struggled on 3rd down, but over the last 3 games, I'm pretty sure this number's correct. I think he's 7 of 23 passing on 3rd down. 7 of 23. So, like, you get him in 3rd and obvious, and then you drop into coverage, and it's been a struggle.
So, anecdotally, that's why it feels to me the pass rush is more effective against them, even if the numbers don't bear that out. It's because it's more, there's no mystery. There's no that play fake's going to work, or they could do something else on 3rd and 2, or if it's, 3rd and manageable because you're going for it on 4th down so often you're getting it. It's a chain reaction thing. To me, it's the run game that looks way less effective on early downs, where you see the pile's not moving or the holes aren't there. There's just less thump, less opportunity, it feels like.
I did not look this up. I want to. Anecdotally, I feel like they are seeing more stacked boxes.
Me too.
I think teams are going, they want to run the ball on us. Okay, let's not let them do that. Let's make Jaden Daniels beat us over the top or down the field or in the middle of the field or behind us. And they, as a passing attack, and last week the talking point in Ashburn was we haven't had the practice time, so the accuracy and the completion percentages and just the chain moving throws aren't there. They got to find them. They got to get back to that real quick. And maybe now that he's back to full speed and on the practice field, they'll be able to do that. But I'm with you. The story is the offense. I will just say, though, I thought the defense was good enough to win this game.
Me too.
But 0 pass rush against Cooper Rush. What are we doing here? Cooper Rush, dude. 0 pass rush against him. Dan Quinn at the end of his press conference had kind of gotten up, thought that it was over, and Ben Standig was like, one more, and he asked him about the pass rush, and Quinn just kind of sat back down and said, agreed, and like slapped the table and walked off. And it was not in any way like an abrasive thing. It was kind of more.
Yeah, like I saw it too, buddy.
Yeah, like, you're on it, bro.
We were there.
None. Zippy.
Which is a shame against a beat up offensive line in their own right.
Inexcusable.
Yeah.
They were out both guards. Like, where is Joe Witt's potion mixing to get Frankie Louvu on a guard on a matchup there and let him blow Dallas up from the interior? And by the way, I thought Louvu was amazing yesterday. He had 3 batted balls in the first half, smelled out a screen, and got him off the field at one point in time. But when you're playing Cooper Rush and he has 8 incompletions all game and no turnovers and no, you're not getting to the quarterback for sacks until basically they're giving you the sacks at the end of the game when they're trying to run out clock. Which, by the way, why did Dallas do that? That was so stupid.
Yeah, it was.
They were on the verge of field goal range to make it a 10-point game, and they did these 3 straight plays where they would loop around and lose yards. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Of course, yeah. I think they thought they'd catch him by surprise, get a first down, and end the game that way. And it was sniffed out each time. Glad they did it.
It was the worst looking thing ever.
Yeah.
But quarterback ratings a nothing burger. It's touchdowns and interceptions essentially. But 117 for Cooper Rush yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The only takeaway they had nothing to do with him
on fumbles. Yeah. I mean, just
and by the way, Dallas cannot run the ball. Historically, they're going to have their lowest rushing total season since before they drafted Emmitt Smith. I heard Joe Davis say when I rewatched the game on Fox. Rico Dowdle yesterday ran all over the place. It is second best day of the season. So even though the defense was good enough to win, and I do think that they were, it was not like it was a strong defensive performance.
No, it was not. But
what do you think of the special teams unit yesterday?
Well, if you tell me before the game they're going to have a block kick and a block punt, I'll go, hell yeah, sign me up for that.
First time since 1966.
But the net balance is, oh my God. The net balance is obviously tremendously negative, right? With 2 kick return touchdowns allowed. I know there's an asterisk there and it's a bizarre circumstance, but still I mean, listen, Turpin's great. That's what he does. He is an explosive playmaker who made an explosive play. I don't quite get what you're going for there. I'm not doing a kick it so that guy can return it against me play. I would not do that.
Dan Quinn wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think that was the wrong decision.
Instructed Austin Seibert to dirty a ball, meaning kick him a bouncing ball. Let him return it. On special teams, the list of foibles yesterday, a missed field goal that was not particularly close. That was a bad, misfire of a kick where he struck it, the 50-yarder. 2 missed extra points, including the deciding kick. They allowed 2 kick return touchdowns, including, how about that, nubbed onside kick attempt? That was such a bad onside kick. 8 penalties for 78 yards, some of those on special teams. Remember, they had 12 men on the field on defense. That was really bad on 3rd and 1. But you lose the turnover battle. They never turned the ball over. They turned it over 3 times. Didn't they have 3 turnovers through 10 games?
Either 3 through 9 or 3 through 10. I mean, it's somewhere in there, yeah.
And one of them was the Hail Mary at the end of the game, so you could say it was only 2. But
this was my point a couple weeks ago, where you've had unbelievable fortune.
Yeah.
Right? So a screen pass that hits Brian Robinson, but there's somebody else there, ends up intercepted.
Which, by the way, not Daniel's fault, but also burn that into the ground, dude. In the early part of the year, tell me he was not throwing that right at his feet. What good is coming from that? The best thing that happens on that is Robinson gets blown up by the dude that picked it off.
Yeah. So, my point is, the incredible good fortune they've had, where all the fumbles they get, that end up either going out of bounds or they recover it themselves when, Eckler's or somebody, Zacchaeus is hustling down after Eckler fumbles or Allegretti recovers a fumble. Those things are going to regress and the bad's going to happen. It's going to stack up. Well, now it's happening where you've had all of a sudden a whole bunch of turnovers and you can't get right in that regard. Can you overcome that? It's just, we wouldn't notice some of these drops or, a fumble here and there if the offense was still humming like it was. And it was, you missed out on one. We'd be doing a bit where we go, they still scored 38, and that's with these couple of turnovers, or that's with these couple of bad plays. But man, how great is this offense? That to me is the story that the group from 5 or 6 weeks ago looks to be like they swapped jerseys with the Monstars, right? All their abilities are gone. It's like nobody's open. They got no space. There doesn't seem to be any counterpunch at this point with this offense, even against a terrible defense like Dallas has.